Ancestry fired me because at a certain point, they became a bigger advertiser partner of ours than publishing partner. If they're bringing in $1 million a year to their business, they're probably just doing what the business owner wants them to do. Business owners don't have the time and they don't trust the technology or have enough knowledge to know which technology is going to fit them and which isn't.
So Josh, you started out selling ads for college newspapers, and that company ends up merging with a company called Y2M, which is part of the MTV network. While you're there, you sell the very first ads that ever ran on Facebook, which is wild. But instead of riding that into a full corporate career, you ended up going on your own and building your own agency. So you build this media sales and ops agency, and you've sold over 200 million in advertising. You've got clients like eHarmony and Ancestry.com. And so, Josh, tell me about that first moment where you were like, wow, this is exploding. This is becoming its own business. I need to hire people. I need to put in systems, etc.
Yeah, I mean, it happened pretty early, right? It was like Ancestry hired me, and I was like, okay, I'll just sell stuff for you and work for you, and you'll pay me as we go. And they said, no, we'll give you some money. You go out and hire a team. And so they literally said, it can't just be you. You've got to go and get people. And I was like, okay, let's do this. And in that day we were onboarding multiple publishers at once because we were figuring out their inventory so we could go out and offer that to certain advertisers. The second oh shoot moment also was when Ancestry fired me, right? Because at a certain point they became a bigger advertiser partner of ours than they were, a publishing partner. They had gone public, not public. They didn't need ads on their site anymore. They were making $1 billion a year in subscriptions. And we had represented this other genealogy destination site, and Ancestry came in and bought that site. So when they bought it, they obviously didn't want to pay us to advertise on a site that they owned. And so they cut us, and that was like, an extra $100K a month that we just had to figure out what to do with it. And we had to go to those advertisers that were advertising on that site and say, sorry, you're competitive to Ancestry. You can't be on this site anymore. So we had to figure out, well, where else can we take this budget for these other advertisers where we can get them a yield for likely genealogists so that they could hit their ROI. And that kind of set us down the agency road as well, and trying to determine how to media buy effectively to meet their needs.
So what'd you guys end up doing?
We built a mini network, kind of a vertical network. We found other sites that were more genealogy focused. We created kind of a little technology that helped us do comparison search engine for genealogy, kind of how competitive search engine works for travel. Like we all take it for granted. We go and say, I want to go here, from here to here, show me all my options. This was like, I'm looking for this person. They were born there and there. Where can I find them? So there were all these different places that we could find that individual online. And, Ancestry.com was one of them. And there's a company called MyHeritage in Israel. Find My Past. There's a FamilySearch.org company as well that's a nonprofit. So we just found other entities and other destination sites where those could run. And then we got more and more focused on the agency role versus the ad ops and sales role.
Got it. And so by the agency role, you mean building out your own version of this, your own business?
Yeah, for sure. And I had to find an ad ops lead because now I need a person who's going to control all of the ad ops. I had to have a person that would control the arbitrage model. And so I went back to my classmate.com days and brought on my buddy Maurice, and basically carved out a big chunk of the inventory for him, and kind of had to hire our first internal person. And that was a big risk, but he did a great job, and we were, very successful together for a number of years.
So you said two things are new to me. You're talking about the ad ops model, and you're talking about the arbitrage model. For ad ops, I'm familiar with revenue operations, which is the back end things that need to happen to push folks to a sale. What is ad ops, and how is it different than media buying?
Yeah, so ad ops would be like the website has ad tags running on it from a number of different partners. And we're now monitoring that to try and create the greatest yield for that website. So in a big site world like about.com, right? So we didn't do the ad ops for about.com. We did more sales ops, but the ad ops person, like he's seeing $1 million fluctuations based on how much traffic they're getting from Google, but also in how he has his ad stack set up on about.com. So you've got Google running ads. You might have 5 other different networks. Now you've got header bidding, and you have a variety of advertisers trying to get their ads to run on that page. Same thing for like CNN News Source, which is one of our clients. We have inventory across 900 broadcast sites that are running a CNN News Source tag or a CNN News Source video player. And it's our team's job to make sure that the most valuable ad is running at any given moment. So when a consumer goes to that website, they see the most lucrative ad first, which earns that publisher the most money possible. So when a publisher is not optimized, they're just running Google ads, and who knows what's running. It's Google. Google's deciding what to run or not. And Google generally doesn't pay the highest amount for the ad tag. They're going to pay whatever makes Google the most money, not necessarily what that publisher does. So you've got the management of the ads running on a site. And that also means managing ads that maybe their internal sales team does. So if you're working at boston.com and you sell a deal to Jordan's Furniture, you want the Jordan's ads to run first before the Google buy a Toyota newengland.com ads run, where they're going to pay less money to that publisher. So that's there's humans behind that, and there's machines behind that, but the humans are running the machines and making sure all the numbers are working. And that's kind of ad ops on a site. And it's, revenue ops is along those same lines, dealing with ads trafficked and ads being pushed out. We've used a team in Hyderabad, which, I've worked with for years. And that's, we basically built that team together because we all work together at classmates.com. And that's where our team is based now for that.
So ad ops would be if I run a small business and I want to make sure that the most valuable ad is always being shown. And by valuable, it means most profitable, not most revenue generating.
Correct. If you're a website and you run a website, and that's definitely one of our clients was a site called Cool Math Games. Cool Math Games, super awesome site for kids, and they needed to be COPPA compliant, and but huge site, kids going there playing online games in math, and they had to figure out how to really generate cash flow. And so they were definitely trying to do all of this. And we worked with them a little bit, but they, had their own people as well. So it's kind of a matter of that's their whole business, is generating money from the ads running on their site.
And so for these guys, how different is this than if I were to tell Meta to do that for me, or to tell Google to do that for me? Is this now becoming more similar, or is this different?
Yeah, so we would take the Meta tag. Well, so Meta is only going to monetize your site if you're using apps, right? Meta strictly went to an app-only role for the Facebook ad network. They used to monetize every site, but now you have to have an app, and they have to have their SDK included in the app. But you've got Google, you've got Amazon, you've got a variety of sites that are kind of technically unknowns, right? They're not consumer-facing brands, but they're pushing out all of the ads for all the brands publicly. And so what you want to do is you want to create a stack, or a chain. In the olden days, we used to call it a daisy chain, where you basically try and figure out how to stack those demand partners in a way that allows the most lucrative ad to always run first. There are ad servers and technologies that do that all now automatically, but it's definitely not just to run Google ads. So you'll get more from Google if you run Google competitors, because Google will see that, hey, we're not the only ones in this game. We've got to put our best foot forward. And so the Google algorithm actually responds to having competitors in there bidding on that inventory. And what they do is they all throw the same thing at it, and they say which one will launch first. And hopefully it's the one that makes that site the most money.
And tactically, so if I run a small business, a small agency, etc. Um, how do I do that tactically? Like, how do I get? Is it a tool that aggregates all my channels onto one platform? Like, how would I do that?
Yeah, so let's talk. You've got a website that's making money from the advertisers running on its site. So let's go like a very small, like an agency is mainly concerned with, they just want their ad to run on wherever it needs to run to make their client money. So agencies kind of on the, on the buyer side, and websites are on the seller side, right? So you kind of need ad ops on both sides. You need ad ops on the agency side to make sure that your ads are being placed in the appropriate places where you're going to get results for your clients. And then on the seller side, you want ad ops to do the things that are going to make you the most money as a seller. So if you're, again, using Boston.com as the example, you want to make sure that the ads that your people are selling run first normally. And the ads that your people are selling need to get delivered, because if you get under delivery from Boston.com, then you might have salespeople who are mad and clients that are mad, and therefore they're not going to do as much on their multimedia program. So they've got display and print and direct mail or whatever else, their magazine. They need to be running first and prioritized. And then, but then you've got the agency business people. They are using platforms. The agency business people, they're going to be using a variety of programmatic platforms. They're going to be using, obviously, Google and Meta, but then they may have a dashboard that lives on top of Google and Meta. So we use a platform that basically creates a competition between Google and Meta and everyone else. And it actually creates more competition even in the Google algorithm, so that it seems like you're trying to push Google where you want them. So agencies kind of have their tools and publishers have their tools. And our ad ops team can work on either side because they're kind of, they're experienced on both technologies that they might be using.
Got it. So this is
That makes
on
sense.
the seller side. That makes
Correct.
sense.
The
So this
seller
is
side
like,
is kind of where our origins were with the Ancestry program.
that makes sense.
And then the agency side is kind of where we evolved to.
I am excited. Actually, I am really excited about, because what we talk about is my audience is all folks who have passed that initial kind of product market fit stage, and they're in like looking to scale. Typically, folks doing between 1 and 5 million revenue. And so the question is kind of like, how do we set up to scale? How do we structure to scale? And so I typically ask folks about their structure, and you've got one of the most unique structures I've seen. So I'm really excited to pry into that and share it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the whole idea, is like anyone can, starting iMedia was when I got laid off from NBC Universal at one time when they acquired, there was an acquisition with Weather Channel and NBC, and I had a team of 5 people in the greater Boston area, and
Yeah.
we were let go, and it was kind of one of those things where it was like, okay, I could go find another job and keep doing what I was doing, or I could just go out and get a few more bosses, I guess, clients that were willing to hire me, and I'd work for them, right? And I would do media sales and marketing for them. So that's what I did. And I went and got Ancestry.com as a client and eHarmony as a client. And
So cool.
I had worked for Classmates.com years ago. Classmates.com was kind of the precursor to Facebook. Classmates charged like $1 a month. And I'm sure at one time when I joined Classmates, they were smaller than Facebook, and Facebook's passed them while I worked for Classmates. And it was interesting because at one time, Classmates had the largest database of everyone in high school that you had ever gone to high school with. And it was just this crazy database at a time when it was hard to get that data. And they still somehow didn't see the writing on the wall with Facebook coming in through colleges and then evolving up through. But ultimately, the cool thing about these models is that they made money from subscriptions and they made money from advertising. And so I knew that they had this base revenue from subscriptions, and I knew that anything they made in advertising was gravy. So that became my target market. So I'd go to them and I'd say, look, I know your focus is subscriptions, but if you need someone to help you generate more dollars from advertising, then we'll come in and do that. And so they were like, great, go hire more people. And so they basically told me to create a contractor model from that. And we did pretty well for a number of years, scaling, over $1 million and whatnot. And then it was like talking to a dentist friend of mine, and he was saying what he did, and he's like, "Can you help me?" And I'm like, "Well, we kind of have like a $10,000 minimum. I'm not sure what we can do for." He's like, "Well, we spend like 4,500 a month," and I was like, "What are you spending that on as a dentist? What are you spending that kind of money on?" And he explained that was like website and SEO and some Google ads, and I was like, "Okay,
Huh.
think you're paying too much, but there's a lot of room if you're paying that much, and then we can create a product." And so that kind of set me on this path of solving local. And so I've been doing that since about 2018. And most of the big local companies, it's kind of like the Yellow Page companies, like anyone that used to sell Valpak or Yellow Pages or the big media companies. Um, they're like, wow, your model sounds like herding cats. And so the model is like, it's like, I don't think digital marketing, the way it's set up today, it's not like there's a shortage of awesome products and awesome solutions for small business owners to wrap their arms around marketing and like scale and do cool stuff. The problem is that they don't have the time and they don't trust the technology or have enough knowledge to know which technology is going to fit them and which isn't. So if you can overcome the trust aspect, they're happy to pay 15%, 20%. They're happy to pay a premium to somebody locally who can help them figure it all out and navigate it. So in my time doing this, I have seen the vertical agencies really scale, and the vertical agencies do a pretty good job because they get product expertise and they can talk the talk and in many cases walk the walk. But ultimately the industry is this agent broker model that we accept so readily in real estate. We accept it in insurance. We're fine with insurance agent brokers, even car dealers, even some people that work for a car dealer, they're paid as a 1099. Door-to-door sales, pest control people, even home services, they're paid as commission only, but digital marketing it's either you've got an agency or you're an employee. And so I really think that there should be a agent broker model, a way for an individual to be a sole proprietor and do well to the degree where a small business is like, you should find an agent. You should find a local agent to help you with that. Oh yeah, I did a website, but then the website company, they couldn't do all the other stuff. Oh, you should find an agent that knows how to do that. Right. And so it's like, I'm trying to build a whole industry that doesn't really exist yet. And
That's really
yet
cool.
there's such a need for it. So that's kind of the $1 billion idea. Well, I could build another agency. There's a lot of those out there, right? But if I could
And so
change this industry, that's the goal.
and so the agent broker model is like, if I run a dentist, a clinic, a dental clinic, and I need a website, you're the guy who helps find the dentist who needs a website, and you're the guy who finds a website builder. That's
Correct.
the agent broker.
Yep. And I'm going to have a website to do. Like I can use a website. I have my team that'll come in. But if the dentist is like, well, actually, I want to use my brother-in-law to do the website, great. Let's work with your brother-in-law. Let's make sure he builds the right website. Right. Because sometimes they'll have preferences and that's okay. So the agent broker should be able to navigate that. If it's finding somebody to build the site, then that's one thing. But if it's, if navigating the preferences, because a lot of agencies are like, when you hire us, we do your website, we do your Google ads, we do everything. You can't use other people to do this. Like it costs $3,500 a month and we do it all. Right. And so that's kind of a steep ask for somebody. Right. So it's like, okay, well, maybe it's $3,500 a month, maybe it's less. What do you want to do? Right. Well, what do you recommend? Well, here are my recommendations. Right. And so I think sometimes you've got a dentist who's like very specific. They want to do reels or they want to do billboards. well, we can, we are more focused on digital marketing, but, we can talk about your billboards. We can track your ROI from any media through our platform, right? So a lot of it's like, what are the right tools to use to track success? What does success mean? And that's really what we're training that iMedia sales team member to be. But the reality is, like, if you can just find somebody in your market that cares about your business enough to give you time, energy, and attention, like, that is a serious issue. You hire someone and they don't have enough time for you. They don't give you enough attention. They don't give you the reporting. And so when you're dealing with small clients, right, and ultimately small businesses or small clients, and you're dealing with anything under 5,000 a month, I mean, it's hard for corporations to give you their attention. So Google and Facebook, like, you'll be talking to somebody from all over the world, and they're going to tell you, you should be spending $10,000 a month. Well, I'm a, you know, ophthalmologist in Worcester. I'm not going to spend $10,000 a month on Google for my glasses, clinic. I'm just not. That's too much money, right? So, well, okay, spend 1,000, right? Like, somebody needs to be able to tell them that it's okay to spend 1,000. You don't have to spend what Google tells you to just because it's Google.
Yeah, interesting. So um, so then you email is the primary, and then close them with these SDRs. Um, and the offer is essentially, I've got a network of everything you need in the digital marketing space. Doesn't have to be me, but I'll make sure all your needs are taken care of.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I'm local. You can meet me. I can come into your office. Um, I can help your office admin navigate through stuff, because maybe you've got your office admin and she's in charge of now social media, but she's locked out of Facebook. Okay, well, our team can get on the phone with her and get your Google business profile claim, get you into Facebook.
No way.
I'm not a Facebook expert. I'm not a WordPress expert, but I have a person that can do that, right? We have a team that does that specifically. My job's to really be here, help your business, be here for you, make sure that everything's queued up, and make sure that you are doing better than your competitors. So yeah, it's having that local person in market that can do all the things that you want them to do, and to some degree, it is an outsourced marketing manager, right? They can't
Yeah.
hire their own marketing manager. They're at a position where they can't hire their marketing manager. But like some of my clients, I have my own book of business, and some of my clients, they may have a team of 3, but they're not going to want to place their own Google ads. They don't
Yep.
want to place their own meta ads. They're not doing their own retargeting. They're internal people. Maybe they've got somebody who graduated with an MBA from Harvard, but then they've got somebody else who's just doing analytics, and they have somebody else who's just doing social media posting. Maybe they have somebody who's in charge of their newsletter, but they don't have anyone to really buy media, right? So we come in and buy media, make sure that it's hitting the ROI. We have a team of 40 people. So that's my team. I'm not the Google expert personally. I'm not going to come in and know Google better than anyone in the world, but my team is going to know Google better than anyone in the world. And it's super transparent. So you know what you're spending. You get to see your cost per click, all of that. So that's kind of the offer. And, it's a traditional agency in a sense, but it's can scale to whether a company can only spend $500 a month, or if they can spend 25,000 a month or whatever.
And so then how do you charge from that perspective?
So we charge, if I'm charging them to, I can charge. So let me back up. So as the business, iMedia sales team, we allow that agent broker to charge consulting fees that they dictate. So if they want to charge their own consulting fees, they can. If they include websites or basic products, let's call it core digital marketing products. Basically, everything that a business owner needs. Every business needs a website. They need some social presence. They need some listings. They need a Google business
Right.
profile. They need maps listings if they've got a physical location.
Right.
They need all that stuff. We have products for all that. That's all going to be a commodity, right? So those are going to cost a certain amount. You, as the iMedia sales team member, make 20% of that ongoing. So you get 20% of that. The business pays direct. The business just pays iMedia for those products. If the business wants to pay another company, great. They should tell you who else they're paying so that we can roll that up into their monthly ROI report, because we want to give them an ROI report every month that kind of is an all-encompassing report. So they should report that to you if they're doing marketing beyond us. And then, of course, once we really get into the media spend, now we're talking, because this is now the business has everything they need. And if they had everything they need before they came to you, then great. You're happy with your website? Great. Google Analytics is working? Great. Your leads are coming in? Great. You're just ready to scale and grow. Well, what do you want to do? Well, we've done Google. Well, let's add Bing. Let's add Meta. Let's add retargeting. Let's add YouTube. And let's have all these channels compete and see what the effective cost per acquisition is, or the effective cost per appointment, or cost per sale, or cost per whatever you want to measure. And what's the value of that? How much does that lead mean to you? And let's track that. And that's really where we're now humming. And for that model, you have two choices. One is you just pay us and we take a percentage out of that and just focus on your goal. And the percentage is, we're buying all the media. You're paying us you're paying us at the end of 1 month for the next month. And we're just, whatever budget you give us, we're spending that on media with specific goals to drive you appointments. So we're acting as a pure agency. And full reporting, here you go. This is what your channel breakdown is. Here's your spreadsheet. This is how much you're spending. If you want to calculate our percentage, you can. Well, what is your percentage going to be? Well, it's going to be, somewhere in the 30% range, right? Now, what if we want full transparency? Great. Full transparency. We'll set it all up for the business. We're going to take a retainer. And with that retainer, we're going to be in charge of measuring your ROI. We're going to track it through to a CRM. And that retainer is going to be anywhere from $1,250 a month to $3,000 a month. And that's your retainer. On top of the retainer, business, you're going to be paying either 16% of media if we're spending over $1 million, and you're going to be paying 25% of media if we're spending under $1 million. So it's retainer plus media management. And it's just transparent, right? And that ends up being a fairly normal agency standard, right? Well, what's the difference? Well, we also commit to getting you a 3 times ROI minimum. And you determine what that ROI is with us. We're going to figure that out. And over time, we're going to actually reduce your cost per click rate, because the way we buy and on a platform, we're going to make sure your cost per click comes down. So that 16 or 26% may seem like a lot, but over time, that'll completely disappear, because let's say you're paying $1 cost per click right now. We're super convinced that within 6 months, you're only going to be paying 40 cents on that cost per click. So we'll actually drive your cost per click down, because we make those entities compete with each other. And most of the efficiencies come out of using Google and Bing together and using Meta together. So we kind of have a pretty sophisticated media buying program once you're spending over 20K a month with us.
Got it. That's really cool. That's a cool model.
Well, it's cool, but we just need another 50 people to do it with us, and then we're off to the races. So
Yes, got
we've
it.
got a handful of folks that have done it, and they're doing really well. But they're it's kind of like you get what you put into it, right? Like anything, I think you get what you put into it, and every business owner is a little different. And so part of my challenge is, how much of this do I run as an agency that I want to control at every single part? And how much of this do I want to just say, look, I'm the platform, I'm the service provider. You, as the iMedia sales team licensee, this is your business. Like, I want to support you. I want you to feel like you're building something here. So that's kind of where I honestly, one, get excited about, because I'm not a micromanager. But on the other But the flip side is sometimes I do want to be a little bit more of a micromanager, which is why we're talking SDRs as well.
How'd you figure out that balance between like between run because it on the front end it probably looks like an agency. On the back end is where it's different and unique. How did you like what made you want to decide that?
Yeah, I mean, it really started out with more of commission-based sales team members, right? People would find us online and they'd be like, "Oh, I'm looking for a media sales job. Do you have one?" And I'm like, "No, we don't. We really we only offer a commissionable gig, and you're selling these sites that we represent." And that's how iMediaAudiences started. Is we had a bunch of sites that were like older demographic scale, and we had a bunch of sites that were like college students focused. So you could sell these things. You could join us and sell those things. So we had people over the years. Plenty of people have made well over 6 figures a year working with us, but most of them came from this media sales background. The newer model is, more of a straight up digital marketing play. And so it's been a little harder to find the right balance because it is more of a franchise play. And so we walked down the franchise road a couple times and I had a hard time just honestly charging people $70,000 to basically take the model that I have already proven. But in a perfect world, I just say, look, I've done it. I've got my own little book of business in New England. You can do the same thing. You get to 50 clients, you get to 100 clients. You might have 2 big ones in there, right? But you're going to have a lot of $500 a month clients. You're going to have a lot of $1,000 a month clients. You're going to even have some $90 a month website only clients. But the point is, like, they're your clients, right? And so I think that's the model I'm trying to prove, because otherwise I'm just like any other agency.
Mm. Um, yeah, and so the model itself is more commission oriented.
Yeah, it's more profit margin oriented. Because you're ultimately, like, what I'm not making as an agency, that's the issue, right? If I'm making all that money as an agency, then I'll operate like a traditional agency, which is I'm selling, I'm the business owner, I'm going to have everyone else do the work, and I'm going to make a bigger percentage off of that. Like when somebody works for a media company or even for another agency, like there's sales reps out there right now working for agencies, and if they were to take a commission and say, okay, what if I were making 10% even? What if I were making 10% of my gross sales every month? And they did that calculation, they'd be like, wow, I'm doing pretty well. So, like, let's say somebody that works for Scorpion or even for Yelp, like, if they did that math, they'd be like, wow, I'm doing pretty well. Because if they're bringing in $1 million a year to their business, they're probably just doing what the business owner wants them to do. Like, if you're only bringing me $1 million a year, can I really justify paying you $100K a month or $100K a year? Like, if you're only bringing in $1 million, I don't know if I can pay you $100K. I may only be able to pay you $50K. Whereas if you're bringing in $1 million with iMedia on your own, you're making $200K for the most part.
Yeah, interesting.
Right. And so I'm losing that money as the agency. They're making that money. But again, that's how franchises work, right? Franchises might only get, they're making off of franchise fees and other things. So I'm okay with that model, assuming it can scale and assuming I can do what I've done over and over again. And, we've done it 5 or 6 times. Currently we have team members making, 6 figures a year, but it's really the small business owner that we're thinking about, right? I just genuinely feel like the small business owner is going to do better if they have somebody consistent in market who they know, like, and trust. That's not going to go away. So
Got
that's
it.
the goal.
And so what you hand to them then is it sounds like it's a toolbox of here's the operations in the box and here's the sales process in a box. Because you don't do the sales for them, right? You're thinking about offering it to them, but not necessarily, right?
Correct. Yeah, we have the
Yes.
CRM. And so they log in to the iMedia sales team dashboard. They log in and they see the dashboard, they see the CRM, they see their, we use Google Workspaces. So they're getting email taken care of, calendar, booking link, all the things they need to basically operate. And then we'll populate their CRM with either, 1,000 identified accounts or warm leads that we'll get from like a Zoom info, and then we'll email them and push out from there. So we'll bring in leads from these platforms that identify interested parties. And then we'll email and say, hey, we're introducing this person. Then we'll activate, because we use a platform that kind of activates tools. We'll activate some tools for that small business owner. So you can call them and say, hey, so-and-so, I'm your new rep. Well, what are you doing for me? Well, we've activated a couple free products. Do you have a minute where we can log in and take a look at your digital evaluation and see how you're doing? Right. So we have
Got
a
it.
freemium offer too. So they get some tech and, some things that help them kind of wrangle it and kind of start from somewhere.
Got it. And that's where the customer success role that you're talking about fits in,
Yeah.
where you have indicators of how well they're using the CRM, and you can
Totally.
activate free new things and get them to upsell.
Exactly. Yeah. That's how a business would do this if they were not kind of all focused on, if I were just running it as an enterprise business. That's how it would run. It would run just like an enterprise. And, the truth is, Brian, I'd probably be 5 times as large by now and, maybe not even working anymore. But there's so many agencies who have done a good job with that. And I don't want to take anything away from those agencies. But so many agencies are just like looking to grab dollars. They'll just tell that small business owner anything that small business owner wants to hear. And they're so desperate for clients. I was talking to a painter the other day. He's like, yeah, I paid $3,500 a month for my retainer. And my requirement was I had to spend $1,000 a month on Facebook, right? So he's paying $4,500 a month, and $3,500 of it's going to the agency, and $1,000 or so is going directly on his credit card to Meta. And I'm like, well, what did you get? And he's like, well, I got 12,000 in business from 8,000 spent. And I was like, and that wasn't good. And he's like, no, that doesn't even cover my cost, right? So that agency might feel like that's a good. We drove you $12,000 in business. But like if the business owner's not happy with it, the business owner's saying, well, I got to get, like if I'm spending $8,000, I need to get $30,000 in business, right? Like we come in and we learn their numbers and figure it out. And so I don't know what this painter thought. Did he think that he was going to get to 30,000 by spending that 6,000? Did he think that it was going to get 30,000? Or did they just not really get into that with him? Did they just say, look, we're going to get you like 20 calls a month? And in his mind, he just thinks, okay, if I get 20 calls a month, I can make X amount of dollars. So there's lots of missing pieces when you're dealing with small business owners. And if you're really good at sales, you can just get them to buy anything, because they're not thinking, they don't want to think about this. They just want to go out and work. So unfortunately, that's one of the reasons why it is hard to, identify good agencies from those that are maybe just out to scale.
Gotcha. So Josh, this has been great. Where can people find you?
Just Google Josh iMedia. And if I don't come up, I'm not doing a good job. But yeah, iMediaAudiences.com or iMediaSalesTeam.com or Josh iMedia Sales on social media. So thanks, Brian.
Awesome. Amazing. Thanks for coming on.
Okay, take care.